My name is Laure, and I'd just like to say, that being in limbo really sucks, Does the country know? Does the rest of the country know? As you know, for 4.5 million of us, whether it's the European citizen living in this country or the British citizen living in Europe, it's 16 months on, we are still left hanging. We are still left hanging in this intolerable uncertainty daily. Anxious, millions of us are likely to lose our rights as an EU citizen living here, and we may no longer be protected by the European Union law. And no deal for EU citizens is bad deal. This disturbing deadlock, as Barnier calls it, makes it hard to trust any talk on how great it must be to leave the EU. So many of us do not qualify for the Home Office requirement for permanent residency or settled status as the rule stands, regardless of the number of years we've lived here, regardless whether you've got a British spouse or not. It's not okay. It breaks my heart to hear many crushing stories daily. Thank you. It breaks my heart to hear many crushing stories daily. Their pain is my pain. No longer recognizing this country, I can't seem to shake this profound sadness that engulfs me. My children left home years ago, and this past year, I am wondering every day, have I served my purpose here? After 31 years of living here. Thank you. This government's so-called control on immigration is totally out of control. It is not right that the cry of the forgotten voices continues to be ignored, and that traveling to and fro from European countries where we have families is going to be made so difficult for us. Free movement is progress. It is not right that lacks of funding leading to... Thank you. It is not right that lack of funding leading to the privatization of the NHS plus our settled status ordeal drives more NHS workers away. It is not right that deportation letters with threat of detentions were sent out to hundreds of EU citizens established here, working here, and then call it an error? Incompetence getting it away far too lightly, don't you think? It is not right that this government is playing with people's lives and use us as bargaining chip. And that democracy is in jeopardy because what's happening was never the will of the people. We are the people, and we must unite in believing that true democracy begins with honesty. It is not right that millions of us have had their lives turned upside down. It is not right that the moral bankruptcy of this government has created an unforgivable, hostile environment. It is not right that some jobs are advertised for British only, and that some politicians encourage firms for British workers only, and that EU citizens can't adopt a child if they wanted to, despite having a British spouse. It is not right that some schools are asking for forms to be filled stating your child's origin of birth. and that some politicians are encouraging firms to list foreign workers. It is not right that some banks won't let some EU citizens who have lived and worked here for decades open a bank account without proof of right to stay. Wow. Yes, sir. It is not right to be discriminated to get accommodation on the basis of where we are born. Is it right that EU citizens are treated like criminals? No. It is not right that this despicable discrimination against EU citizens here is in breach of the European Convention of Human Rights. It is not right that an EU citizen, a vulnerable 80-year-old widow of a British spouse, who has lived here for 50 years and is having her right to stay being questioned. It is not right that Brexit has created this us versus them. It is not right that so many families are being split and that so many EU citizens who feel alienated, not valued, unwanted, unwelcome, feel forced to leave the country. It is not right that Brexit has created a 50% rise in hate crime and that millions are driven away, whether they are suffering themselves, being victims of xenophobia and racism, or whether they simply leave because they are utterly disgusted. Do you think it's right that net immigration is falling as this government succeeds in making the UK a miserable place to live? As the Confederation of British Industry says, the UK's treatment of EU citizens workers is a blight on the nation. Britain has been playing human poker with EU workers' rights and should act immediately to give unconditional guarantee that they can stay in the country post-Brexit. Blow after blow. We can't take it anymore. Some are told to go home. What home? Our home is here, in a country that we fell in love with, and which has now betrayed us. We've got no home to go back to in our country of origin. For millions of us, we've been settled here for several decades, and yet exodus is happening. People uproot themselves and go elsewhere, having to start from scratch. The UK is starving itself. The UK is starving itself of valuable EU citizens, which, ironically, the country actually needs. It is totally absurd, insulting, and painful for this government to make life so difficult for innocent people who came here in good faith. These continued consequences that have started so many months ago are not just dreadful economically, but more importantly, on a human level. Are we all asking ourselves this question? What is the human cost of Brexit? A general apathy is no longer an option, and we need your help. When it comes to safety, complacency is dangerous. Is the general public still sleepwalking into oblivion and disaster? Have they not realized yet that the EU citizens' crisis is also concerning them? It's concerning all of us. I mean, surely if people were aware, more would do something about it. within their own limitations. There's such a multitude of ways to help and raise awareness to put a stop to this madness. This stiff upper lip is outdated, and solidarity is more needed, don't you think?
Yes!
Thank you. However, infrequently, the dreaded Brexit topic has been addressed in many relationships. During all those months of heartache, some people's defense mechanism makes them keep away, whether it's through denial or not. So, acknowledgement is a first, and then let's spread awareness, please. The In Limbo book, we have published a book called In Limbo. Anyone's heard of it?
Yes!
Right. Now, the In Limbo team have worked very, very hard on this. This is a book of a collection of Brexit testimonies of EU citizens in the UK. It is full of personal accounts by EU citizens living in Britain that reveals the practical and emotional turmoil that they have experienced since the 2016 referendum on the UK's membership of the EU. Organised by volunteers and on a not-for-profit basis, this anthology is a snapshot of this historical period that aims to add real-life relevance and urgency to this national debate. I invite you to read it and talk about it. This unfair discrimination is an attack on our identity and our individuality, which penalize a vast majority, especially those disadvantaged. We all wear different hats, thrive in different roles, and have different talents. We must use these talents and unite together to protest against what is happening to this broken country. We can achieve so much more together.
Yes!
We are all victims because Brexit is so toxic. Let's stand up to preserve our human rights. It is time to put people before politics. It is time that we ask ourselves, what is the human cost Brexit is? It is time to say, no, we don't want it.
We don't want it.
Once and for all, stop Brexit. Let's reclaim our power, our creativity, our talents, our courage. Let's dare to help in any way we can and show in action that the forgotten voices are not forgotten. And let's show that what is tolerated by some bigots and poorly informed are... let's start that again. And let's show, my last sentence, and let's show that what is tolerated by some bigots and poorly informed is not to be tolerated